At 82, I never imagined I'd find myself regretting the decision to move into a nursing home. It seemed like the right choice at the time, a place where I'd be cared for, where I could relax and let others take care of things. My family assured me it would be a safe, comfortable option. But the reality? It was nothing like I expected. The promise of comfort turned into the loss of my independence, and the care I was promised often felt more like control than compassion. It's a decision I can't take back, and now I find myself wishing I'd asked more questions, thought through more carefully. If you're thinking about it for yourself or a loved one, I want to share something important. This choice isn't just about convenience. Moving in feels like a simple solution, but once you're there, getting out isn't so easy. It's a shift that changes everything, and I've learned some painful truths along the way. 6, to be exact, things I wish someone had told me before I took that step. Before you decide, think long and hard about what you might be giving up. You may not realize it, but once you cross that threshold, life as you knew it changes. And it's not always for the better. Don't make the same mistake I did. Your independence, your purpose, those are worth fighting for. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was making a sensible decision. After all, I was getting older, and the idea of having help when I needed it seemed like a relief. What I didn't expect, though, was how much I would lose in the process, especially my independence. Before moving in, I had control over every part of my day. I decided when I woke up, what I ate, when I went for a walk, and even when I wanted to just sit and read a book in peace. Life was mine to navigate. But when I moved into that facility, everything changed. I soon found myself on someone else's clock. Breakfast at 8 o'clock, whether I was hungry or not. Bedtime at 9 o'clock, even if I wasn't tired. Want to go outside for a walk? Well, you have to wait until someone is available to help. Even something as simple as deciding what to wear for the day was no longer a choice. It was a privilege. It didn't take long for me to feel like I was just another face in the crowd, stuck in a routine that wasn't my own. The hardest part? Realizing that my independence, something I had taken for granted for so many years, was gone. And once it's gone, it's not easy to get back. I adapted, of course. I had no choice but to follow the schedule, to let others dictate the small things. But I felt myself slipping away with each passing day. I wasn't the same person I used to be. It wasn't just the lack of freedom, it was the feeling that I wasn't in control of my life anymore. I never realized how much those little freedoms meant to me until they were stripped away. And now, looking back, I would give anything to have them back. The ability to decide when to take a walk, when to sit down for a meal, or even what I wanted to wear. These small choices gave me a sense of control and, ultimately, a sense of self. If you're thinking about making the move, please take it from me. Once you give up your independence, regaining it becomes much harder than you think. It's a loss that stays with you long after you adapt to your new routine. When I first moved into the nursing home, my family promised me they would visit often. They assured me that nothing would change, that I would still be connected to them, just like before. At first, they kept their word. My daughter came by once a week, and the grandchildren would visit on weekends. For a little while, it felt like life wasn't so different. I still had those familiar faces to look forward to, still had a connection to the world I had known. But as the months passed, something started to change. The visits became less frequent, then they stopped altogether. My daughter started calling instead of coming, and even the phone calls became fewer as life went on for everyone else. I couldn't blame them. They had their own lives, their work, their families to tend to. But the emptiness of those days when no one showed up, it was something I wasn't prepared for. I started to realize that once you're no longer physically present in someone's life, it's easy to fade from their mind. And that's exactly what happened to me. It's not that my family didn't love me. I know they did. But the truth is, life keeps moving, whether you're a part of it or not. As I sat alone in that room, waiting for someone to remember me, I felt a deep loneliness settle in. It wasn't just the absence of visitors. It was the absence of connection. And as the holidays came and went, the isolation became even more unbearable. Everyone had plans. Everyone had somewhere to be. And I was left behind, watching from the sidelines. It was a tough pill to swallow, this realization that being out of sight meant being out of mind. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself if you're prepared for the loneliness that comes with it. It's easy to become forgotten, even by those you love, once you're no longer there to remind them of your presence. When I moved into the nursing home, I didn't realize how much of my life was tied to the small daily things I did for myself. Before, I had routines, responsibilities, and little tasks that made me feel needed. Whether it was watering the plants in my living room, cooking my meals, or just tidying up around the house, these activities gave me purpose. They gave me something to look forward to every day. But once I was in the nursing home, all of that changed. The staff took over everything. The meals were prepared for me, my laundry was done by someone else, and my little corner of the world was no longer mine to manage. At first, I told myself that it would be nice to finally relax, to not worry about cleaning or cooking. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days began to blur together. Without those simple tasks to fill my time, I felt like I was just waiting for the hours to pass. I began to feel purposeless, like a cog in a machine, moving through each day without direction. I saw the same thing happening to many of the other residents around me. People who had once been full of life and energy were now sitting silently, staring at nothing, just passing the time. It was heartbreaking to watch. A man named George, who had been a carpenter all his life, spent his days in the common room. When he first moved in, he still had that fire in him, the desire to do something, to fix things. But in the nursing home, there were no projects, no tools, nothing for him to create. Slowly, I saw that same spark fade from his eyes. "I feel useless," he told me one day, and I couldn't help but agree. I realized that when you lose the things that give your life meaning, everything starts to fall apart. Without purpose, the mind slows down, the body follows. I can't stress enough how important it is to hold on to something that makes you feel alive. Whether it's a hobby, a responsibility, or just a small task that gives you a sense of accomplishment. Without it, life loses its focus. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, what keeps you going? Because once you lose that, you lose a piece of yourself. When I first moved into the nursing home, I thought it would be a break, a chance to take it easy. I'd been active all my life, taking walks, tending to my garden, and handling my daily tasks with ease. I never imagined that the lack of movement and constant reliance on others would cause my health to deteriorate so quickly. It didn't take long for me to realize that the comfort I had been promised came at a heavy price. At first, I was just thankful not to have to worry about the chores or cooking, but what I didn't expect was how quickly my muscles would weaken. I used to be able to walk around the house, stretch, and even do some light gardening. But in the nursing home, everything was done for me. I no longer had to get up and cook, clean, or even fetch my own water. At first, that felt like a luxury. But then I started noticing the changes in my body. My legs felt stiff. The simple act of getting out of a chair became a struggle. My muscles, once strong and reliable, began to fade. And it wasn't just me. I saw the same thing happening to the others around me. People who had once been mobile were now relying on walkers or wheelchairs. It happened so fast. One minute I was moving around fine, and the next, I couldn't walk as far without feeling exhausted. It was as if the very act of not using my body had caused it to lose its strength. I remember talking to Alice, a woman who had been spry and independent when she arrived. After just a few months, she was using a walker, then a wheelchair. "I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months," she told me. I couldn't agree more. The lack of movement, the reliance on assistance, it all contributed to my body's decline. I realized something important in those first few months. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. I wish someone had warned me about how quickly it happens. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to lose your physical strength? Because that ease of life comes with a cost you might not fully realize until it's too late. When I moved into the nursing home, I never fully understood the price I'd have to pay for comfort and care. I thought it would just be about having people around to help when I needed it. No big deal. What I didn't expect was the loss of my privacy and dignity. At home, I had my own space. I could shut my door, sit quietly, read, or just be by myself when I wanted. I had control over when and how I did things. But in the nursing home, everything changed. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff coming in and out of my room, checking on me, assisting me with tasks I had done alone for years. At first, I tried to tell myself it was just part of the process, that it wasn't that bad. But over time, it wore on me. Even the simplest things, taking a shower, using the bathroom, getting dressed, became something I needed help with. There was always someone there, hovering, ready to assist. It wasn't out of malice, of course. They were doing their job, trying to make sure I was safe. But it stripped me of my sense of control. I couldn't even do things that I'd taken for granted for decades without asking for help. What hit me the hardest, though, was sharing a room. Not everyone gets a private space, and I was one of the many who ended up with a roommate. I never had to share a room before, and it was strange. At home, I could make my space my own, arrange my things, set my routine. But now it wasn't just my room. I had to adjust to someone else's habits, and in some cases, their lack of respect for my space. Privacy became a luxury I didn't have. The hardest part? Losing my dignity, the freedom to make my own choices about how I lived, what I wore, when I ate. It was all gone. In its place, I became just another name on a list. If you're considering a nursing home, think about whether you're prepared to give up your privacy and the control you've always had over your life. Once it's gone, it's hard to get back. When I first moved into the nursing home, I thought it would be a temporary solution, just a little break to make life easier. I convinced myself that if I didn't like it, I could always leave and go back home. But what I didn't anticipate was how much harder it would be to leave once I was settled in. The reality hit me fast and hard. Leaving wasn't as simple as I thought it would be. At first, it seemed manageable. I was adjusting, and I figured I could always go back to my house if I changed my mind. But as time passed, I started to notice the physical changes in myself. The longer I stayed, the weaker I became. I wasn't getting the exercise I used to get at home. Simple tasks that once felt effortless were now a struggle. The idea of moving back into my home, maintaining it, and getting around by myself felt overwhelming. The very things I thought would be easy to return to suddenly seemed like a challenge I wasn't sure I could handle. When I brought up the idea of leaving to my children, they hesitated. "Are you sure you can manage on your own? Isn't it safer here?" they said. The more I thought about it, the more I realized they were right in some ways. My health wasn't what it used to be, and I couldn't do the things I once did. I wasn't sure I could live alone anymore. What I thought would be a temporary stay had turned into something permanent. The longer I stayed in the nursing home, the harder it became to imagine life outside. It wasn't just the physical decline, it was emotional and financial too. My house was empty, and things had started to change without me there. My family had begun making decisions for me, and the thought of taking control again felt daunting. The costs of care were another barrier. I had used up more savings than I anticipated, and the financial strain made returning home feel impossible. Leaving wasn't just about packing up and going. It was about facing all the barriers that had quietly crept up on me. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, understand that once you're in, leaving isn't as simple as you might think. Life outside becomes harder to reach, and it's not always about what you want, it's about what you're able to do. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. It's a natural part of life, and I've learned to embrace it. But there's one decision I do regret deeply: the day I believed that moving into a nursing home was my only option. I thought it would be a temporary step, something I could change if I didn't like it. But what I didn't realize is that once I crossed that threshold, it wasn't as simple as leaving when I wanted to. It wasn't reversible, as I thought it would be. When I first moved in, I told myself it was just for a little while, that I could always go back home when I was ready. But what I didn't foresee was how much I would lose along the way: the independence I had, the ability to make my own choices, the privacy that was once mine. Life in a nursing home is nothing like I imagined, and in hindsight, it's a life-changing, permanent shift. I never expected to lose so much of myself in the process. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's the importance of preserving your routines, your independence, and your ability to make your own decisions. These are the things that give life meaning. The things that keep you connected to who you are. If you're facing this decision, take it from me: there are always other options. I wish I had explored alternatives before deciding that a nursing home was the only way forward. There are ways to get help, ways to stay independent, that don't require giving up everything you've known. The life you have today, your routines, your choices, your independence, is worth holding on to for as long as you can. Don't let the convenience of a nursing home trick you into thinking it's the only solution. The price you pay, in terms of privacy, dignity, and the very essence of who you are, is higher than you might realize. Explore all your options and don't be afraid to fight for the life you've built. It's your life to live, and it deserves to be lived on your terms.